Hi guys, I hope I find you well. Anywhere you could be at this moment, at your particular station or province, I hope learning is still taking place. I think this is going to be the new norm. We are going to be using these tutorials, these video tutorials, to reach out to one another, just to bridge some gaps between the notes and your understanding. If you have any questions, you are free to contact me as usual on my WhatsApp number, on my email, or to call me so that we can clarify some of these issues. But I hope these tutorials will go a long way to help you understand some of these things. So today we are going to be talking about constructivism, the constructivist approach to conflict management or security studies, so that we add to what we have been doing before we close the session and before this lockdown situation in our country, in the world rather. These tutorials will help you cover the gaps in some of the things that you miss from the notes. The last time we met, we were discussing about conflict management theories or conflict theories, and we discussed the traditional approach or the realist approach, realism. Then we also discussed about liberalism. So today I just want to elaborate further on the constructivist approach. To begin with, we just want to find out what constructivism is all about. What is the meaning of constructivism? How can we define this term? I think we've attempted to define it some time ago in our lectures in the classroom when I gave you that assignment that read conflict and peace concepts understood from people's own interpretations. And I highlighted that you have to be aware of this theory, constructivism, and another theory, interactionism, so that you'll be able to answer the assignment. Right? Constructivism, from the word construction or construct, it means building something from scratch. So when we say conflict and peace are concepts understood from people's own interpretations, we are trying to say conflict and peace are constructs or ideas, concepts that are built, that are made, that are created by people from their own understanding. Right. So constructivism is a theory that embodies all these ideas that relate to how people make meaning in their society, or how states, through their interactions with other states, make meaning of their relations or make meaning of ideas about peace and conflict in the world. So these are ideas created from people's own interactions, from people's own understanding, or from their belief, ideas, interests, preferences about peace and conflict. Constructivism is not necessarily a conflict theory, as you will find out from literature, but it helps us to understand the grand theories that have already been in existence. This is another angle of analyzing conflict that poses questions to the existing theories, such as realism and liberalism, to sort of analyze those ideas, whether they are real, whether we can depend or rely on such ideas in the realist or liberalist sense, or we can try to make meaning from people's own interpretations. When I'm saying people's own interpretations, then it automatically or obviously means that conflict and peace are regarded as intersubjective concepts or ideas. By intersubjective, we are saying we are trying to understand people's feelings, people's conception, people's own interpretations people's own beliefs. So the intersubjective dimension is a complex and multidimensional paradigm of analyzing concepts regarding to peace and conflict in our case. I have mentioned in the notes that constructivism is a theory of identity, whereas realism, we said, is a theory of power or politics of power, power politics, and liberalism deals with cooperation of states in the world. The essence of constructivism is found or is embodied in a number of things such as historical context, cultural context, language of a people, because you cannot understand the ways of a group of people without understanding their culture, without understanding their history, or without understanding their language. There are several nuances that are embedded, that are inherent in a particular language, that cannot easily be translated into another language. So, from understanding a people's language, then you begin to have an appreciation of the symbols that are important to them or that give meaning to their society. So language is also critical in understanding constructivism or in understanding people's concepts, ideas, and meaning. Other things that give essence or meaning to constructivism are religion and identity. By identity, I'm referring to something like when we are saying our shared identity as a people or as a group of people in a society or generally as Zimbabweans. What do we mean when we say I'm Zimbabwean? What is the difference there from someone who is from Mozambique or Zambia? Why do we have to make that distinction? That is relating to identity. So identity is also a subjective element, is also a subjective factor that helps us understand meaning in a society or meaning pertaining to a particular group of people. The socio political and economic factors as highlighted here are also essential elements to constructivism, because without these environmental factors you cannot arrive at a particular conclusion about the symbols that make meaning, about the ideas and concepts that make meaning to a particular group of people. The politics of a nation, the politics, domestic politics of a country, the social conditions, the economic conditions in a particular country, they also help to understand the feelings, to understand the attitudes, to understand the mood of the people in a particular country. So all these things that I'm referring to have particular reference or importance to peace and conflict. So now let's try to identify specific ideas or assumptions that build this theory for better understanding. You can clearly see here I have this concept: conflict is additional. By additional, we mean that it is built from different ideas in a society or in a particular group of people. Ideas about peace and conflict are acquired concepts that mean different things to different people at different times. Concepts derived from states' interactions related to security studies include words like enemy and ally, peace, conflict, aggression, terrorist, terrorism, democrats, communist, fascist or capitalist, rich and poor, or dictator. What do all these concepts and words mean? The meanings of these concepts are found from the interactions of people in a particular society. What I'm saying here is these concepts mean very different things to different people in different societies or in different countries. So to say peace or conflict, to say an enemy, to say an ally, or to say a terrorist means different things to different people. Let me give particular reference to the word terrorism or terrorist. We understand from our historical background in Zimbabwe that during the liberation struggle, the people that we now call war veterans, the people that are our heroes today, back then they were called terrorists. Why? These were the ideas of the people or the beliefs of the people that decided to call them as such. But to us, because of our identity as Zimbabweans, because we identify with the liberation war, because we identify with these people that went to fight the colonialists, we decide not to call them as such because it's a different belief altogether from what we try to understand it as. So we are constructing this meaning from our interactions, from our historical background, from our cultural perspective, from our religious ideas. So already I think you have light. You can see that these concepts are just not given. They are not static. They are not objective concepts. That's why earlier on I said constructivism is an intersubjective paradigm or dimension. By that meaning, we try to dig deeper into people's interactions to find the exact meaning of concepts or ideas. Somewhere in the notes, there's an important statement here. This statement which reads, these concepts are used to describe other states but by themselves mean nothing if unmediated by interpretation. So we are saying interpretation is key, is relevant to understanding these concepts. Without giving interpretation from a particular angle or from a particular perspective, then these ideas or concepts mean nothing. So the interpretation of which is value-laden. By value-laden, we mean it's biased towards a particular angle, towards a particular belief system, towards particular preferences of a group of people. So do ideas matter that much with regards to conflict management or to security studies? Yes, they do matter. So what could be these ideas that are so critical to the study of conflict management? These could be ideas about gender, the patriarchal system, and the gender equality ideas. These could be ideas about domestic politics, ideas about power that are essential or important to a particular group of people. Collectively, ideas build a people. I said earlier on, identity matters. Ideas give identity to a group of people. For example, in Zimbabwe, we have this common saying and belief. We strongly believe that we are sons of the soil. Vana vevu, even vakadzi, our female folk, they also call themselves the sons of the soil. That is an important statement of identity, that we identify ourselves to our land. So in trying to understand some of these conflicts, for example, the land question in Zimbabwe, the conflicts over the land issues in Zimbabwe with our erstwhile colonizers, the conflict between Zimbabwe and Britain over land. Is it a conflict about power? Is it a conflict about the lack of cooperation between the two countries, or what? I would rather say it is a conflict of ideas. It is a conflict of identity, because the British or the European countries and their allies, America and others, they have their conceptions about the land issue in Zimbabwe, they try to relate it to human rights, try to relate it to issues of democracy. But to us as Zimbabweans, democracy and human rights do not mean anything if they disregard the ownership of land from its rightful people. It doesn't mean anything. There and then it means there's a conflict of ideas, a conflict of belief systems that can escalate into armed conflict. Yes, the Liberation War was an armed conflict over such issues like land. Then with regards to identity, I highlighted that identity matters. Identity contributes to behavioral patterns of a group of people in a particular society or in a country. And identity also influences the behavior of states, countries. Because in this frame of reference, that is constructivism, we regard states as unitary voices. The unit of analysis in this theory is state-oriented. By this we mean we are not concerned about the individual feelings, individual interpretations, individual interactions, but we are concerned with a collective identity, a collective effort of all the people in a particular country into one. So the state or a particular country is regarded as an objective entity. The voice of the state matters. Despite that we have different feelings about certain issues in our country, different interpretations, different ideas and beliefs about those issues. But what they regard in international politics or on the international platform is the voice of the state. That's why we say the unit of analysis is the state or is state-oriented. Now let's try to question some of the assumptions or ideas of these grand theories that have already been in existence, like power politics, anarchy. But what does it mean to a constructivist? Because by just saying anarchy, it doesn't mean anything. It has to be given some meaning from how people perceive it, from how people understand it. So in the constructivist sense, it's said anarchy is not a given condition, but states decide to believe what they want. So it's a matter of choice. If states agree from their interactions, from the way they relate to each other, that anarchy is the state of uncertainty with regards to security in the world, so it will be. If they decide it's the absence of a central government, so be it. It's a matter of choice. What you want anarchy to mean will mean that. Then what about power? What does power mean in a constructivist perspective? In a realist sense, power is the objective materialist aspect with particular reference to arms of war or weapons of war. The amount of power of a state is measured by its military capacity. And to liberalists, what does power mean? Then liberalists try to avert their concerns or focus from power politics. They look at different aspects such as cooperation. Constructivists perceive power as a symbol representing people's conceptions of it, as well as their beliefs and ideas. The meaning of power is derived from the purpose the power should serve, or from the ends to which power is legitimately used. What does that mean? The word power does not have a static meaning. The word power does not necessarily refer to military power, but it's given its essence from how a particular group of people perceive it. In an interesting discussion in the North, I referred to military power as not power in itself. If we take arms of war, be it nuclear weapons, and we place them there, by themselves they mean nothing unless there is someone to give meaning to it. How do people give meaning to such things? The ideas behind the creation of those weapons are what we are concerned about in constructivism. What led people to construct or to build such massive militaries, such weapons, weapons of mass destruction? It is the ideas. Those weapons do not create themselves, do not build up by themselves. They are created by people who have particular ideas about peace and conflict. So, in this frame of reference, we are concerned about those ideas behind the creation of weapons. And in these grand theories, that is liberalism and realism, issues like the balance of power is referred to on most occasions. What is the balance of power? What are you trying to balance with, or to set off with? By the way, we were saying in our discussions about realism, the arms race or the competition for power in military terms, of course, create a dilemma for other states. For example, if any country embarks on a nuclear program today, other states in the world will feel threatened by that move. So in a constructivist sense, we are saying, if there is no real threat to set off with, if there is no real threat to balance off with, then balance of power means nothing. So we can use this theory to analyze some of those ideas, old ideas, some of those concepts that have been used for years in the security studies, to try to find what is the exact meaning of such concepts. So constructivism can be used to analyze different concepts from conflict itself, peace, democracy, dictatorship, communism, fascism, etc., etc., because those concepts are of particular importance to security studies and conflict management.
Lord, I think of your love like the low winter sun, and as I gaze, I am